Okay, we're in Parshas Yisro now. We're going to talk a little bit about Yisro. Connected with Yisro, we're going to also talk about the idea of Yichudim, what the Yichudim, Kabbalistic Yichudim are. Also, a little bit about in connection with all this is the topic of Yisro and Heter, how when there's a tarovis of Yisro and Heter, a mixture of mutter things and also things like a drop of milk falls into cholent, how we have a halacha that there's such a din that there's bittul b'shishim, that when there's 60 times more cholent or meat than the milk, then the milk becomes batel. Or even in a different case, if you have a non-kosher piece of meat or liquid that falls into a large soup, a large pot, then the non-kosher becomes kosher, becomes completely allowed to be eaten, since it has a din of nullification and nullifies itself within the 60 times amount of kosher. So we're going to speak about all these different topics and show how they're all connected one to the next, and how it's all very much the same idea of Yisro. Okay. So in this week's Parsha, it starts off with Yisro hearing everything that happened to the Yidden, and Yisro comes and decides to join the ranks of the Jewish people. So he comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, and there he actually converts. So Yisro, the conversion of Yisro is a very interesting thing. Yisro used to be the greatest idol worshipper, wizard in the world. He used to be one of Paro's advisors. Him, Bilam, and Eov. And he ended up going through every single different avodah zarah and serving every type of idol that there existed in their time, and realizing and deciding that all of them are not true, and there is a one God. There's one God, and when he saw that, he knew the Jews believed in this God, and when he saw the Jews were saved by Hashem and the miracles that Hashem did for the Jews, he decided he was going to join the Jewish people and become a Jew. So really we see like a very interesting contrast in his life. Most of his life, a large part of his life, certainly until around Kabbalah Satorah, until the Jews left Mitzrayim, he was an idol worshipper, and he did the worst types of affairs. And then afterwards he becomes a Jew, and he becomes a very, very special, very important Jew. The Zohar says that at that time the name of Hashem became very, very great. Meaning, when Yisro converted, through the conversion of Yisro, Hashem became very, very important in the world. And here we see the importance of evil coming to good, and how when evil turns into good, how it's so special. This is really one of the fundamental principles of serving Hashem. And the most fundamental principle of Hashem creating the world is that He specifically wants us as human beings, as people with bechira, with freedom of choice, with people who are sitting in physicality and in this world, to turn around and to come to Hashem. So us with a body, and the body is inherently physical, we're turning around and choosing spiritual. We're literally taking the evil and we're flipping it into good, and that is why Hashem created the world, and this is the main avoda, the main service of Hashem in this world, to turn physicality, to turn evil, turn ourselves, our bad midas, and all the not good that we have inside of ourselves, to turn it into good. So this is what Yisro himself did, and since Yisro did it in such an amazing way, at such an important time, in such a big way, Yisro brought great tikkun into the world, and a great sanctification of Hashem's name, which is again what we're all trying to do in this world till today. We continue to do this. Moshe Rabbeinu understood this, and Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to do the same thing himself, and that was his purpose in taking out the Erevav. When they came out of Mitzrayim, there were a lot of neshamas that were slightly attached to Kedusha, or had a relationship to Kedusha, and they weren't completely evil. And these neshamas, Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to include them in the Jewish people, and to bring them out to bring them out to be part of the Jewish people. Now, very much like they were, since they were slightly spiritual, or slightly, they had some type of kedusha inside of them. He wanted to bring them and include them into the rest of Klal Yisrael, very much like if a person were to drop a drop of non-kosher liquid meat into a big soup, then the non-kosher meat would become kosher through the din of batel v'shishim. So too, even though Moshe Rabbeinu understood that these Erev Rav were not completely pure and they had problems with them, they're spiritually not perfect, that he understood that by bringing them into the Jewish people, that they would come to be Jewish, to be completely good, and to be nullified, have all their evil nullified within the Jewish people, and everything would be kosher in the end. Hashem saw that it wouldn't work out like that. Hashem saw that there were too many of them, either in quantity or in quality, or in both. And that's why the Torah says, the Torah calls them Erev Rav. Erev means referring to the mixture, that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to mix them into, they wanted to make them as a mixture, mix them into the Jewish people. And Rav, the word Rav means a lot, that there were a lot of them, and Hashem saw that they weren't able to be mixed up inside the Jewish people properly at that time. And very much like if a person had a pot of soup and a few drops of non-kosher liquid fell into it, but there wasn't enough, maybe half a cup of non-kosher liquid fell into it, and there weren't 30 cups of kosher. So because of this, Hashem suggested, did not agree with Moshe Rabbeinu to take out the Erev Rav, but Moshe Rabbeinu did it anyway. And because of that, since they did not get mixed up in the Jewish people, they did not become Kodesh like the Jewish people properly, they ended up doing the Chet HaEgel, and their Tumah stayed with us, and we have the sin of the Chet HaEgel until today. People running after money, and people running after Gashmias, and believing in specifically in money, the Egel Azav, the golden calf, believing in money and believing in natural ways of things. This is the general physicality of the Erev Rav, and it's continued till today. These Erev Rav are mixed up amongst us, and in the end they will become Kodesh, or they will become those who are too many, who really won't become Kodesh, will be separated from the Jewish people, and the rest of the Jewish people will, the Erev Rav which are able to integrate and to become Jewish would become part of us in the proper way. Now Moshe Rabbeinu understood that it was okay to bring them in, and was able to bring them in even before, because we then at that point had 600,000 Jews. The pasuk calls it Shishim Ribo. Ribo is 10,000, and 60 times 10,000 is 600,000. And these were adults. These were people above 20 able to fight, and that was like the same concept, the same principle as batel b'shishim. That since we now had a complete 60, and again, not necessarily that we were 60 times more than them, we had a complete unit. We had the ability we were a complete unit at that point, and we had the ability to then be mevatel the things that would come towards us, and we would be able to be mevatel them on purpose by bringing out the Erev Rav and bringing them into the Jewish people. So in the end, before Mashiach comes, by the time Mashiach comes, so once again we're going to become many. We're gonna get, our numbers are going to become much greater, and then through sheer numbers we're going to be mevatel. We're going to nullify the Erev Rav again. This time properly. This time in kedusha, and they will be included. Those who are supposed to be included in us will be included in us, and those who aren't will become nullified. This is what Rav Nosson says, that really Mashiach will come through the final nullification of evil, not necessarily so much through destruction, that we're going to go out and kill the Erev Rav, chas v'shalom. That's not how it's brought. But he explains that we go out and through making ourselves more, through having more children, and through having more Jewish people, more religious people, then automatically the Erev Rav becomes Batal B'Shishim, they become nullified within the 60 times, or the 60 times greater, the complete unit of the Jewish people, and then they become included in us. There's a very famous pasuk, everyone knows the end of the pasuk, many of us know the end of the pasuk, and also the beginning of the pasuk speaks about this topic. It says, the pasuk everyone knows about is Be'ita Chishena, that says when the time will come, when Mashiach is ready to come, so then Chishena will make it faster. So one of the Pirushim that people know, most of us, that at its time, meaning there are two ways that Hashem can come. Hashem can come either Be'ito, at its time, or Chishena, or Hashem can make it early. If we do a lot of mitzvahs and we're worthy, then Hashem could bring the Geula, Hashem could bring Mashiach before its time, and before the set designated last time it could possibly come. And if we're not so worthy, then it will come Be'ito. Ito means at its time. And Chishena means quickly to hasten something, to hasten, to bring it early. So there's also, the beginning of this pasuk says, Va'katan yil elef, va'tzi'ir l'goy atzon, ani Hashem be'ita chishena. The small one will be 1,000, and the young one will be powerful like a large nation. And I am Hashem. At its time, I will hasten it. So this is talking about, is one of the most famous pasukim, talking about the time of the coming of Mashiach. And the beginning of the pasuk very clearly states that a single person or a small one will become 1,000, and a young person will be like a great nation. So there are a number of different interesting pirushim for it. The Shach actually on the Chumash, the Shach, the same one who writes on the Shulchan Aruch, also has a pirush on the Chumash, and he writes that just like in Mitzrayim, when it was time for us to come out, before we came out, we had an unnatural type of birth rate. When a woman would give birth, she would give birth to 6 children at a time. So too, when Mashiach comes, there's going to be an unnatural birth rate, and we're going to be doubling ourselves and copying ourselves. His lashon is very interesting. He says, the Shach says, that we will, the word multiply that he uses in Hebrew means copy, which is very interesting. It kind of reminds me of the the idea of cloning. I don't imagine really that we'd be cloning ourselves to make many of us, but it's interesting language that he uses to say that we're going to be multiplying ourselves so much that we'll be like doubling and doubling, like photocopying ourselves almost, and we'll be growing greatly. So if birth rate continues in the Haredi areas, in the Haredi places the way it is, and every family has around, let's say, 6 children, so by the time a person gets to great-grandchildren, so he has already around 600 around. Let's say he has 5, so he has 5 children, and his 5 children have 5 children, so that's 25, and their 5 children have, their 25 have another 25, which is 125. So your children is 5, your grandchildren is 25, your great-grandchildren is 125. So obviously including the first 2, which would be 175. And now if 125 has 5 more, which is great-great-grandchildren, you're already going to be above 500, above 600 descendants by great-great-grandchildren. Now if that takes about 20 years each one, more or less, until you get to such numbers, so that's 80 years. So within 80 years, a regular person like me could already have over 600 people. Now, if you could just imagine, that's like a small neighborhood. If each single person in a whole neighborhood, the Haredi neighborhoods, become a small neighborhood himself, then there won't be that much space, and we might think that we'd start feeling squished. But I think there's a medrash that says that there'll be houses on top of houses in Yerushalayim, like layers on top of layers, very much maybe like what we have nowadays. Maybe they'll get big skyscrapers for all for every person. Every person, I guess, would need a big skyscraper to hold all these people. But it could be done, and there are skyscrapers, and it's possible to do it. So we could imagine such a thing, and it's a clear pasuk that says that such similar types of things will happen. we will grow at a very unnatural rate, and that's important. Okay, so how does this all connect to Yichudim? This is the idea of Yichudim we're going to explain, and then from the understanding of the Yichudim we're going to see how this is everything that we're doing in Avodas Hashem and serving Hashem, and specifically in things like Yisro and taking the evil and bringing it back to the good. Now, first thing is, what is a Yichud? So the simple Yichud, the word means a unification. Now, in Kabbalistic terms, when usually these words are used, they're used in Kabbalistic terms, so they mean to refer to a combination of names of Hashem. Names of Hashem representing a different midas of Hashem, different characteristics of Hashem's relationship with us. So, in a lot of Sephardi Sidurim, you could see a lot of times the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei has inside of it the letters Aleph Dalet Nun Yud, either at the end, at the Hey, inside the Hey, in little letters, or between each letter. After the Yud is an Aleph, and after the first Hey of the Shem Havaya is Daled, and so on and so forth. These letters are combined in, like one on top of the next, kind of like if these letters Yud Kei Vav Kei, so letters of Aleph Dalet Nun Yud are put inside like this, and so on and so forth, with all sorts of different shemas, different names and midas that we have the Kabbalists match these up and bring these midas together through their concentration and through their intention and on the name. So that's like a very Kabbalistic, hard to understand idea, and we don't necessarily apply these things. Although Yichudim, the Ramchal says, is a person who is able to do Yichudim, these Kabbalistic Yichudim in a proper way. He's able to do things. His actions are greater than simple learning Torah, and he compares it so much, the simple regular learning of Torah, to Tevin and Kash, he says, to straw, and the different parts of the straw, the bottom part of the straw, and the top part of the chaff of the straw, and compared to the actual grain, which would be Yichudim. So the amount of greatness that Yichudim is so important and so special, those people who could do Yichudim, who know how to do Yichudim properly, the effect that they have on the world is literally like the comparison. Their effect is greater than the effect of the people that are just studying Torah in relationship to the difference between the straw and the actual grain, which obviously the grain is much more important than the straw. The straw is given to cows and it's worth very little, and the grain is worth a lot more, and it's sold and it's eaten for people, and mitzvahs are done with it, so it's completely different. So the power of these Yichudim, Ramchal said that he didn't fast so much in his life, and instead he did a lot of Yichudim. And the tremendous amount of Yichudim that he did purified his neshama so much and allowed him to reach tremendous heights in holiness, levels of closeness to Hashem, and so much that he was able to speak to all the angels and all of the neshamas in Shemaim. He was able to speak to all of them freely, like we can speak to each other, and it's a very powerful thing. Even the Kabbalistic concept of it. Now, to a certain extent, really every mitzvah that we do also affects these Yichudim, not in a direct way, but causes these Yichudim to happen. We're going to explain again soon what Yichudim really are, what it actually does in the world. And every Jew, whenever we do mitzvahs, really what we're doing, we're actually causing all of the inner cogs of the world, the real runnings of the world to happen all by itself. And one of the fundamental principles of these cogs, these things that we're causing in the world, is Yichudim, is unifications of names of Hashem, and more simply to understand, characteristics of Hashem. What does that mean? So when you understand, we're going to explain this on a very simple level, so that hopefully we can all understand this without getting into Kabbalistic terms. So up until now we didn't explain what Yichudim are, we just said how great they are, and that a person could get to very high levels with them, and that we, regular people that are not Kabbalists, we don't know how to do Yichudim properly. We don't know how to do them, and we don't even know maybe what Yichudim are. And it's not so simple just to do Yichudim, and that our mitzvahs do Yichudim, and it's enough for us until we get to know Kabbalah very, very, very well, and we understand it very deeply, and we're able to do Yichudim properly. So it's enough for us to just do the mitzvahs with simplicity, and to understand and to know that our mitzvahs are causing very great effects in Shemayim. Okay, so now we're going to explain what a yichud is, how it actually works, what it actually does. So we said before that it's like combining two names of Hashem, or two midas or characteristics of Hashem's relationship to us. That essentially is the same thing. The name is like a term for one of Hashem's characteristics. So, what does it mean to combine two characteristics of Hashem? We understand that Hashem sometimes has a characteristic of harshness, and He deals with us harshly, and He punishes us when we do something wrong. And sometimes we know there are times in the world where He's very kind to us, like when He took us out of Mitzrayim. We weren't necessarily worthy so much. We didn't do so many mitzvahs. We didn't do that many mitzvahs. We were all of the Avodah Zarah, almost all of us, Rahman al-Islam, and it wasn't such a good time. We were very Egyptianized, and we did keep a few things, but still, it wasn't. Hashem had mercy on us, and Hashem helped us out from His own kindness, and Hashem showed us tremendous miracles and showed us tremendous closeness by opening up Shamayim for us and letting us see how close we really are to Hashem and how Hashem really runs the world. So this was like a time of chesed, a time of kindness when Hashem did this. There are other times of din, like the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, when Hashem took all the Jewish people and brought them out to exile, to Babylon, to Bavel, and these are very very difficult times when Hashem was, so to speak, angry at us, and He punished us through midas hadin. So these are two simple characteristics of Hashem's actions. Really, all the characteristics break down into some combination or level of these two in some way or another. But it's all dependent on din and rachamim, chesed and din. Chesed is kindness, and din is harshness. It's not bad, but it's harsh. Sometimes you have to punish your child, you have to be harsh with him. Sometimes you have to be nice to him. You have to, on his birthday, you try to be nice to him. You give him a birthday present, or you do nice things. That is at a time when he's misbehaving, so you have to act difficult to him. These are two characteristics and midas that we relate to our children with. These are two characteristics that Hashem relates to us with. We are Hashem's children. It's the same parallel, same connection. So all the Yichudim, what they do is they combine the midas of chesed and midas of din, because be'emes, in truth, midas hadin is not din bichlal. It's not bad. It's not harsh. It's very kind. When a person punishes his child, he's not being any less kind than when he gives him a prize. He's doing what the right thing for a father to do is. And the right thing for a father to do, and the kind thing, the really good thing to do in raising his child, and it's the kind thing to do, is to punish him when he's misbehaving. And that same kindness is the kindness that he's doing when he's treating his child very, very nicely and very, very well when it's his birthday. And it's really the same thing, because really both the true kindness that he's doing is through raising his son, and that true kindness is not different when he's punishing his child or when he's giving him good. The only thing is the child doesn't really understand that. It's not inside of his bones. He doesn't feel it. So when he gets punished, he's upset and he's crying and he doesn't know what to do with himself. But when the father's being nice to him, so then he feels very good and he's happy. So if he really understood that the punishment is exactly the same and is good for him, just as the presents and the prizes that he's getting and the nice treatment that he's getting on his birthday, if he really understood it, then he really would be the same happy. He would have the same happiness inside of his heart the whole time. And really, there would be very little, if not no, difference between the time of harshness, when his father's harsh to him, and the time of kindness. So really, what Yichudim are doing, Yichudim are attaching these two midas of chesed and din, and they're bringing a recognition and a knowledge of the true kindness of Hashem into this world. And the only way to really do this is by, when these Yichudim happen, is by nullifying the evil and bringing it into the good. That is the fundamental principle of the Yichudim. That's the fundamental principle of connecting the midas. When a person brings the bad into good, he even sees how all the harsh times, all the difficult times, even the times he was far away from Hashem, how those times were he was very close to Hashem the whole time. So the farther one is, the greater yichud he's creating. When he's far away from Hashem, he has the midas hadin upon him. The midas hadin, the harshness of Hashem, relates to this person. When a child misbehaves, then the father has to treat him with harshness and can't treat him too kindly. So too, when people do averos, so Hashem gives down a shefa, an influx of midas hadin. And when we do mitzvahs, especially when we turn our badness, when we start off with being bad people, let's say, and we start doing mitzvahs, we take this midas hadin, which Hashem is now acting to us in midas hadin, and we come to Hashem and we now have the midah of rachamim. And not only that, we even retroactively turn the midas hadin, the evil, the harshness that Hashem was bringing upon us, we turn that into midas harachamim also by doing tshuva, because tshuva goes back and retroactively changes and switches all the midas hadin and shows how really it was midas harachamim, or really it is midas harachamim. So the greater a person, the farther a person is away from Hashem, the closer and the closer he should know that he really is, and he will be when he does tshuva. So the farther away a person is from Hashem, the more important it is for him to do tshuva, and he comes closer to Hashem through this tshuva, and he makes a tremendous yichud in Shamayim. The midas of Hashem, all together on a global level, are like a culmination of all the details, of all the principal relationships to all the Jews. So Hashem relates to the world in the way that Hashem relates to every individual Jew, but in a culmination, meaning take all the Jews, put them together and see are they mostly good or are they mostly bad. And if they're mostly good, then Hashem relates to us in a general way, in a mostly good way. And if we're mostly bad, then Hashem relates to us in a mostly more midas hadin, through a harsher way. When a person takes himself, and he is a cause of a certain harshness that Hashem is bringing down to this world, and he now turns it to be good, so he turns himself and all the harshnesses that are attached to him, and that all the harshnesses that Hashem is bringing down into the world because of him, and he turns that and combines it and attaches it to good, very much like bittul b'shishim. When it becomes batal, it becomes nullified in the good, and the good has the power to take this evil and to turn it into good and to flip into good. So I give us all a bracha. I hope that we should all, Be'ez Hashem, we should all be zocha to take all of our bad points, all of our midas hadin in the wrong place that we don't have, but we haven't yet come to our perfection, and we should turn it to be completely good, to turn ourselves into good, and in that affecting a unity of Hashem's name, that Hashem should act with us with only good, and we should be able to see and recognize that it's good, and all the harshnesses should be completely nullified and included in good, and we should be able to see and experience it in that way. We should all be zocheh to this through our own personal tshuva, and with that we should be able to see the coming of Mashiach.